Welcome to Faces. We are here at the amazing COSI where we'll be meeting with Dr. Bertley to talk all things science and reading. We are here at the amazing Gadgets exhibit at COSI where hands-on learning meets curiosity and science comes to life. So we'll learn a lot about that. And I am honored to be joined by the incredible Dr. Frederic Bertley, who is the CEO and president of COSI.
That's right.
Thank you so much for being here.
Seneca, absolutely my pleasure to be here with you and talk about all the fun, cool things about COSI and learning.
What inspired you, right, to get into science and to be here at a place like COSI?
So that's a really funny story because I grew up a non-schooly kid. I was all about playing, inside, outside, sports, running around. I was so excited about that. And I grew up in Montreal, Canada. And, I did what every typical black kid does in Canada, is I played hockey, which is really unusual. But my parents were good. They exposed us to a lot of stuff. So I played soccer, basketball, football, but I played hockey and I loved hockey. And so my goal in life was literally to play for my hometown, Montreal Canadiens. So here we have Columbus Blue Jackets. Well, in Montreal, they have the Canadiens. That was my goal in life. And obviously, didn't happen, right? But what was interesting, when I was 9 years old, I had this video game, and I'm dating myself. It was Coleco Head-to-Head Football, and it was one of the early handheld video games. And it took those square batteries. You know those batteries that, try this at home, folks, you know those batteries that you stick out your tongue and touch it and it stings you? Yeah, it took those batteries, and but it wasn't energy efficient, so it would burn through those batteries really quickly. And I was like, I couldn't afford to buy new batteries this time. So I went downstairs in the basement. I found an old lamp. Yeah. I cut off the cable of the lamp. I attached it to the wires of the game, and I plugged into the outlet. And Seneca, best 10 seconds of my life because it worked. And I was playing. I remember thinking, wow, I can play this before school, after school. I thought I solved all the problems. By the 11th second, poof, my game was charred. The outlet had a flame. And I was really bummed. And my dad, who's from the Caribbean, came running downstairs, son, what are you doing? You're trying to burn down the house. And I was like, no. But what happened for me was that was my first spark, my first aha moment, where I realized this thing I was taking for granted as electricity, you just plug something in and it works, you flick on a switch, that there's something like mystical or magical happening behind the walls. And that got me really curious, and then I became the kid who was like, how does this work? Why does this work, Mom? Why does this? And that got me into science.
Awesome. So you talked about inserting something into a socket or all
boom.
of the things, and boom. And so here we're at the Gadgets location. Can you tell us a little bit about this space?
Yeah, so the important thing to understand about COSI and science museums is we're different than an art museum. Or a botanical garden where you walk around and you look. But science museums and science centers are more about hands-on interactions. And this exhibit, Gadget, probably best explains and typifies that in that you are doing stuff with your hands. We learn through all kinds of ways. I know you want to talk about that a little later. But hands-on interactive is such an important part of the learning process. And Gadgets is one of our favorite exhibits. And what's cool about this is cool for little kids, but this is cool for young kids, teenagers, even adults pretend they're here with their kids and you see them like all playing and doing all the activities. So it really is a fun space.
I love that. So let's talk about what we see. What are some of your favorite gadgets here?
Oh man, I mean, I like them all. We're gonna get to the brain later. I love neuroscience, but like everything from, imagine an engine, right? We all are in cars or drive cars if we're adults or buses. We never really think what's in the engine, but here you have a deconstructed engine. There you have it formed, and it really shows you like how these things work together in unison to move and cause movement. We have other things here. We have our wired voice where you put the headphones on and you talk through it and you hear how it sounds. This is a fun thing, talking about centrifugal and centripetal force. So if you put something on and you see how it goes and you wonder like, wait a minute, why isn't it staying on? And if you put it in the middle, it still goes off. Like what's happening there, right? So that explains the difference between centrifugal and centripetal force. I mean, all of them are fun. You can spend anywhere from 5 minutes to 5 hours if you're serious about how deep you want to learn.
It looks like it. It looks like it. So Speaking of discovery, let's talk about learning because
Mhm.
you talked about earlier on how you love to have fun,
Yeah,
right? But you get to have fun in a different way with science all the time
absolutely.
now. So, what to you, what exactly is learning?
Yeah, well, first of all, learning is something that all mammals and many higher order species can do. We have this thing called the brain,
Yes.
and it allows you to take in information, usually from the natural world. Your brain processes it. So you take in the information through your eyes, your smell, your taste, your hands, and your brain processes it, and that forms a conclusion, and you learn something. And that might be okay, how to hunt better, how to stay warm by building a fire. Fast forward to our kind of era, how to read, how to write, how to problem solve, how to do all these different things. And so it's an integral part in being a human being. Learning is critical to what we do. And so one of the good things that a museum like COSI does is it forces you to learn in a different way, a lot of it through hands-on interaction and experiences.
Yes, and so speaking of hands-on, so when we're tinkering with all of the different gadgets, there is something happening in our brain. What's happening?
Absolutely. Okay. So we're all different from all other species on the planet. No, really, it's true. Perhaps the best way we're different is the complexity of that fatty tissue in our skull. Yes, I'm talking about your brain. Well, what exactly is your brain? What are some of the misconceptions? And what can we do to keep it tuned? Your brain is the organ in your body that essentially controls everything else. It's kind of like the quarterback. It definitely relies on other members of the team or body to get things done, but it's in charge of making everything go. The average brain weighs about 3 pounds and is composed of soft tissue making up gray and white matter, small blood vessels, fat, and water. Those small blood vessels in the brain are there to feed the neurons the necessary amounts of oxygen that are constantly required. And those neurons, billions of them, are connected like matrix wires in a massive data processing site through links called synapses. All this is tightly packed into our protective skull, and 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, our brain processes the infinite amount of information that we bring to it using our 5 senses. Although our brains are super powerful and well studied, there are some misconceptions, the most popular of which is that we use only 10% of our brain. Simply put, this is just not true. We use 100% of our brain. Now, at times, certain areas of the brain are more active than other parts, depending on the demands we put on our brain, but in general, 100% of this amazing organ is used all the time. Now, let me be clear. We all know people who we think probably only use 10% of their brain, but that's a different story altogether. Another myth about our beloved CPU is that we are either left-brained, mathy or sciencey individuals, or right-brained, that is to say, artistic-ish. Well, it turns out that we actually use both sides all the time. Now, some people might really like math more than others, and others may prefer art and creativity, but these are preferences or interests, not prescribed brain geographic restrictions. Probably the most important myth is that nerve cells in general, and our brain cells specifically, cannot regenerate. Not so black and white either. For example, if you have a head injury or you damage certain areas of your brain, you definitely can regain function through an amazing redundancy of cells in the brain, and in some cases de novo or new nerve cell formation. Saying it differently, the brain is malleable. That means it's constantly remodeling itself as new information and new stimulation comes in. Yes, even when we're in the twilight of our lives. Now, this brainy neuronal superhighway of connections is busy all the time, including when we're sleeping. In fact, sleep is critical at ensuring the superhighway is cleaned up, clear and safe for efficient thinking when you're awake. All this important brain power and function, however, does not come cheap. Even though your brain accounts for only 2% of your body weight, it eats up about 25 to 30% of your total body energy requirements. This is an insanely disproportionate amount. Just imagine the GOAT, Tom Brady, drinking nearly half of his team's Gatorade during the Super Bowl. Crazy, right? Also, your brain is 73% water, and 60% of the remaining part is actually fat. But seriously, That is why it's so important to drink a lot of water every day. It's not just for hydration of your physical body, but it's critical for a healthy brain. So, in closing, love your brain, appreciate its power and capacity, but also take care of it. Drink lots of water, exercise, stimulate your brain through reading and writing. Learning in groups and interacting with people is a really powerful multiplier to what you are trying to learn. And finally, give your brain some downtime through meditation, reflection, mindfulness, and sleep. But most importantly, as my dad, the original Dr. B, would say, think. It's not illegal. Yet. And your brain will be the GOAT quarterback you wish it to be. And that's another Dr. B in 3. Okay, now what does hands-on learning have to do, or why is that so important? Well, the best example is you can tell a kid or even an adult, hey, don't touch that stove, it's gonna burn you. Don't touch that stove. You can tell people 5 times, 7 times, don't touch that stove. Yeah. Guess what happens when they touch that stove once? They don't touch it again. There's something about hands-on interactive, how it processes that synapses, those connections and those neurons in your brain. It's a different way and it reinforces it. So you could read something, you could smell something, you can even taste something. Those all help you learn. But when you add that physical hands-on interaction and manipulation through your fingers, it actually wires through and connects in your brain in a stronger, better way. And that's why you learn so much. But the more of those modalities or the more of those techniques you put together, the better we're learning. So if you just watch a video, okay, that's okay. But if you watch a video and read something, the same topic, you'll learn that more. If you watch a video, read a topic, and then do something hands-on with it, you'll learn it even better.
Thank you to COSI and thanks to Dr. Bertley for joining us today. Later this season, we'll continue our conversation about the human brain and how learning can be fun. See you then.